Okay, look, guys, I'm sorry I threw the 4 interceptions, but you can't be mad at me. You're the ones who made Sid the Sloth the Heisman favorite, not me. All I ever did was just be Sid the Sloth, okay? I've been in college for like 12 years. You knew who I was.
Welcome in and welcome back to the Coliseum Anti-Hybrid Studios. It's been a couple weeks since I've seen you guys, and I have missed you terribly. So we're not going to waste any time. We have a ton of college football stuff. We're going to go ahead and jump right in here, as you saw in the intro, with Carson Beck, a guy that we have loved to talk about so far this season, because he just isn't as good as people think that he is. And again, we've covered that several times. There are definitely some things that we've gotten wrong so far, but a lot of these have come true in a really incredible way. So let's just jump right into the fact that not only did Miami lose, specifically, I don't have like a personal issue with him, but this right here is kind of what my overall reason for talking about him is that his Heisman campaign is over. It should have never begun. Again, Miami was the most overrated number 2 team that I've ever seen. Before tonight, he was literally first. That's not just me saying that he's overrated. He was literally first. And now he is 13th, which is still too high, to be totally honest, after they lost to Louisville the other night. And if you don't believe me that they are overrated and not a team that anybody should be very interested in, just ask their fans. Just ask their fans. Second in the nation, still can't fill the stadium. I mean, you would hope this is like out of context, right? Let's see if we can. I mean, that's 12 minutes to go in the first quarter. I guess you could say people are still filling in, but at this point of the game, but this is that's not a good look. Miami, like LA, is one of those cities that has a lot going on. New York as well. And so some of these schools, again, UCLA, we've talked about them, even USC, whenever they're not good, and even when they are good, at times they can struggle to fill the Rose Bowl out there. And the New York teams in the surrounding area can have that issue too, other than the Knicks, even the Nets. Have never really been able to carve a huge portion of the population out as fans. So you could say that it is the same thing, relatively speaking, in Miami, that there's a lot going on in Miami. But again, you got the number 2 team in the country. You almost can't get any better. You have a Heisman Trophy winning, Heisman Trophy favorite, definitely not winning, Heisman Trophy favorite at quarterback, and you can't even get what appears to be half of your stadium full. So definitely not just me, their fans kind of speak whenever it comes to that. But let's go ahead and look at a little bit of Carson Beck's masterclass, as Elite College Football puts it. Let's see. Oh, yes, before we get into clips, which I'm pretty sure they're going to show. I did not know that was coming up. That's okay. In case you don't know what this is him laughing on the sideline whenever they're getting blown out by Ole Miss. I'll show some clips in a second, but I did want to mention this as well. I almost called him the first bust in college football history just because of the amount of money that he's paid. But there's probably other guys that qualify for that, including Nico at this point. But Carson Beck being the highest paid ever, almost $10 million. And Carson Beck, I mentioned this in a different episode, Carson Beck is really what started the domino effect that became Nico going to UCLA. So in a way, I'm thankful. But his deal at Miami, $8 million a year, by the way, in case you're not familiar, $8 million a year for Carson Beck. That basically set the precedent for, well, if that guy's going to, and again, you know what's bad whenever your peers basically say, well, if he's going to get that, then I deserve more. So don't think that they should have done that. But as far as Nico and anybody else that used Carson Beck as a precedent, but I do understand why whenever you have a guy who is going to throw for 25 or 35, 271, no touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. I mean, it does not get much worse than that. Miami somehow is still ranked number 9. I mean, you explain that to me. They don't respect Louisville enough with their resume to put them higher than number 19. But they do somehow respect, I guess, that loss, or don't count it against them very much, to the point that they keep them in the top 10. I mean, make it make sense. But the other reason why we're talking about Carson Beck is this right here. So Carson Beck blamed his tight end for losing the game. There we go. Okay, there are the clips I was going to show you. So getting into a little bit of the on-field action here, Carson Beck afterwards was asked about a sequence here at the end of the game, which is what the intro referenced, where you can't blame him. But this is actually legitimately terrible, and it goes to that picture where he's smiling on the sideline when it's 22-10. What do I want from him? You want him to sit there crying? I don't know. I mean, show some kind of emotion that's not like borderline happiness or excitement. Show some kind of care, especially whenever you're not, it's not like this guy is a generational talent like, people pretend that he is. He's not delivering, and then he thinks it's funny on the sideline, and that is a leadership problem. Let's not even get into the whole why he moved to Miami to begin with and how that worked out for him. So yet again, we have Carson Beck showing off his incredible leadership skills that I'm sure will translate to the NFL by blaming his tight end for losing the game, which, in case it needs to be said, a quarterback should never blame anyone other than themselves. But let's see what he has to say here.
Were you not expecting that defender to be there? They're running that kind of sim pressure and they popping out at the snap.
I mean, we have a perfect play for it. We had a miscommunication with the route and what we were doing. So, just sort of ran the route wrong, and I went to go throw it because we're hot off of a pressure. And again, he made a good play on it. So,
no, he's not done. He's not done. It gets worse
because we're hot off of a pressure. And again, he made a good play on it. So. But it definitely didn't help that we ran the wrong play.
Could have stopped right there. Could have just stopped right there, Carson. Could have just stopped right there. I don't know if the little head shake at the end is because he knew that he, did some idiotic shit right there, or if he's really trying to pretend like he's that upset. But to double and then triple down on it. I mean, you just didn't have to say that. Also, let's look at the play in question, shall we? Let's just, bad look, right? Probably shouldn't say that. But did the tight end cost him the game? Okay, Carson Beck, let's see. Drops back. We got 36 seconds in the game, down by 3. Throws it damn near right to him. I don't know what he would have thought the tight end could have been doing there that would have, made it his fault. So let's see here. We got them on shotgun formation. We got the tight end towards the top. So he runs what looks like a wheel, essentially, and the DB bites right on it. This doesn't look like any kind of option route or something where he's going to go out or in. Maybe he was doing a fade, like a fade move into a slant or something like that, but it doesn't look like it at all. It seems like he's doing a wheel or a fade or something all the way. So, I mean, he could have straight up ran the wrong route, but there's no, this isn't an option route where it's like, well, maybe, Carson thought he was going to go to the left or the right, and he went the opposite direction. He's just running a wheel, and he just lets it go. And on top of that, obviously it's a bad throw, but wherever he even intended it to be was a bad throw because you got a guy just breaking on it. So, yeah, I don't know what he's talking about at all with that leadership decrease. The seniors aren't pleased, and your teammates respect you considerably less. Yeah, I don't respect him less because I didn't really have a whole lot to start with. But moving on. Penn State, James Franklin's the first coach in the last 30 years to lose consecutive games as at least a 20-point favorite. We talked about the Penn State and Oregon game a couple weeks ago, and that turned out to not be as consequential as we thought that it would be. Oregon goes on to lose to Indiana at home. Indiana is a team that we're going to talk about as well, but Indiana goes on to beat Oregon at home, but Penn State has absolutely fallen apart since then. They've lost Drew Aller for the year, and then they fired James Franklin. They have fired James Franklin. This is not something that I saw coming. I literally talked about it the week before it really went bad for them, that he has a reputation for not winning the big game, and then they lost a smaller game, which we also talked about. Kind of just went from bad to worse there, and Penn State has now fired James Franklin over the last couple of weeks. But pretty surprising from James Franklin as far as this happening. He will definitely get another job, and quickly. What's really crazy about this too, among other things, is where they were right before this happened. I mean, the last month or so has been insane for them. Going into that Oregon game, those were two of the top 3 teams in the country, and then they lose in overtime. But even further than that, if you look back to 2024, Penn State needed one drive to win the national or to make the national title. In 2024, 6 games later, their head coach is fired, and their starting QB is injured for the year. So you got 47 seconds left on the clock. Tied 24-24 with Notre Dame, 1st and 10 on the 15. At that moment, you think maybe you win that game, maybe you go to the national championship. Drew Aller maybe goes to the NFL, is a very, very high draft pick if he does that. And that's not exactly how it went. In fact, quite the opposite. They do not score, they do not win. Notre Dame goes to the national championship, and Penn State has imploded to the point that they have fired their head coach. And this brings me to another point. Oh, yeah. After they fired James Franklin, Penn State also lost to Iowa. So, yeah, not a good time if you are an Nittany Lions fan. But it also brings me to another point that I've wanted to make forever. I don't understand this. I can't think really of a logical reason why this makes any sense at all from basically anybody's perspective, but can we just talk for a second about coach buyouts? Being a head coach in college football in particular, but the NFL as well, we're going to talk about Brian Callahan's buyout at some point, but being a head coach in college football has got to be one of the absolute tippity tip of the mountaintop positions that you can ever get into, because first of all, you just keep getting hired. You look at a guy like Cliff Kingsbury who just fails upward basically everywhere that he goes. You just get recycled through the system over and over again. You're going to get another shot as a head coach, even if you are fired. If not immediately, James Franklin could probably take his pick as a coordinator. Not that he would ever do that, but he could. You got Lane Kiffin, for example, absolute burnout. There's an entire documentary about him going from Tennessee to USC and his story, and he ends up the offensive coordinator at Alabama, rehabilitates his career, becomes a head coach again at Ole Miss, and obviously we see how that's going. He may end up the head coach at Florida because Billy Napier was also fired fired. So once you get there, you're basically secured coaching jobs for the rest of your career. But on top of that, I can't think of another industry in all of America other than maybe like CEOs. Whenever, there's some corrupt shit that goes down there, think about the 2008 financial crisis and just a million different other examples where they do some fucked up shit and then they end up being fired or, removed forcibly, essentially. And then they have some kind of crazy like pension or buyout or severance or whatever, and it just seems pretty wrong considering that they're being removed based on, whatever happened. And college football coach and NFL head coach are the same way. James Franklin will make $56 million through his buyout, the second largest buyout in college football history. Jimbo Fisher famously a few years ago, I think, was over that. He may be the highest one, but basically every coach that gets fired gets these gigantic buyouts. I know, Tennessee for a little while was paying like 3 different coaches at once, including Butch Jones, and then there was actually like a whole lawsuit thing. And this kind of brings me to my final point about this, and my overall point is that there was a lawsuit by Jeremy Pruitt where he essentially said that he wasn't given his buyout unfairly and it was against his contract and stuff. And Tennessee's argument was because of the recruiting violations that he was fired because of, that they fired him with cause. Presumably that they wouldn't have to give him his buyout if they fired him with cause. Well, what is more for cause than being terrible at your job to the point you have to be fired? Is that not for cause? Like, by definition? I just don't understand, and I don't understand any business, any organization that would ever agree to, pay you an exorbitant amount of, like, not even a little bit, like an exorbitant amount of money. We're going to talk about Callahan, but I know it off the top of my head. The Titans will be paying Brian Callahan $700,000 a month. Every month till 2029. The man won 2 games and was fired midway through the season. If that is not for cause, if that is not a reason to say, no, I'm not going to pay you for the pleasure of having to go find your replacement, like, I don't understand this at all. This is the one thing that I did see that was like a caveat, and I would hope, and maybe it would be too optimistic to assume, but I would hope that there are provisions like this that go on in all of these contracts. But James Franklin is required to look for another job in coaching or broadcasting, according to a copy of his Penn State contract. If Franklin's new job pays him less than the $8 million he's owed annually through 2031, this man is going to get paid $8 million a year through 2031. So if he has to look for a job. If he gets the job and it pays less, Penn State only owes him the difference. So if he has a $2 million media job, then Penn State owes him $6 million, basically. But regardless, I don't know, you could probably finagle that in a million different ways. But I would hope that there are provisions like this, because otherwise I really truly don't understand how this makes any sense at all to have to, and then on top of that, you're basically held hostage by the coach in the situation that you're in. Because if you're the coach, like see Mike McDaniels in Miami, if you're the coach and you know that it's already gone, you've lost the locker room, James Franklin didn't see it coming, but if you're a coach that does see it coming, why, like, you take a situation that's already bad and you basically give nobody involved any incentive to actually try to make it out, because that coach is, he's going to get paid regardless. And you would think that they wouldn't operate that way, but of course they do. Of course they do. So bringing us to our biggest topic of the day, Tennessee versus Alabama. Tennessee versus Alabama. I took about 5 full pages of notes about this game, but I want to bring up a couple of things. So for one thing, I've given Josh Heupel and them a lot of flack, let's say, this season and over the last couple of years. And I started seeing stuff like this. Tennessee watched its QB1 leave post-spring. It had 4 new starters on the offensive line. It lost the SEC Offensive Player of the Year, and it lost its 3 leading receivers. At midway point of the season, Tennessee has the number 1 scoring offense in the country. You start seeing that, and you think, maybe I've been too harsh. Maybe I've been too harsh on Bobby Hill, on old Josh Heupel. And again, I really need to stress every time, like I do, that I love Josh Heupel. He seems like a fantastic guy. I would love to play for him as far as like the personality type that I would like. And I think that he's creative in some ways, and I think that he would be an insanely good offense coordinator anyway. And I don't even think he's a bad head coach overall. The point with Josh Heupel is that we are going to, and I think we probably have already hit a hard ceiling with him. And let me just introduce you to the latest example. Alabama 37, Tennessee 20. This game, I think, really my point with this game, it got out of hand at a certain point. We'll watch some of the highlights here, or not. Ty Simpson, 19 of 29 for 253 and 2 touchdowns. I talked about him in a previous episode, and I have to say, this kid is nasty. This is like totally irrelevant to what we're talking about as far as the Tennessee game, but I did want to show you guys. Watch this throw. I don't care that it's the Zach Wilson throw. It's just the type of throw. Rolling out to his left, flip the hips, boom, all the way. Perfect. Didn't even get that safety a chance to get over. This is the throw that got Zach Wilson drafted. Legitimately. I can't wait to cover the draft. These dumbasses. But anyway, Ty Simpson nasty. 253, 2 touchdowns, and Alabama wins. So, yeah, I really want to take us to the end of the second quarter because of all the notes that I took in here. You know, there are a lot of them that are. There were a lot of things in this game that were annoying. Right out of the gate, we had an Alabama player that was just lined up offsides, like blatantly offsides. We didn't have any calls on that. We have this here where we got players. Just first of all, that's like 4 guys. They're 4 arms just choking this one man out. No flags. Then we got this one, no flag, basically doing a MMA move. And you got that happening on the same play, by the way. And no flags. So I'm not usually the blame the refs guy, and I'm not doing that in this case. But there was just, I don't know. Tennessee has some rough luck when it comes to refs. It's not just that they're bad. It's like they just, like the throw out of bounds a few weeks ago. I mean, it's just by the letter, cannot be pass interference. And because it's uncatchable, and they call it on him anyway. I just don't even know what to say about it. What I want to take us to real quick and hone in on is the end of the first half. So Tennessee drives down and has an opportunity to get at least 3. And then at a certain point, it wasn't just an opportunity. There's no way that you get out of that situation and don't get at least 3. This has been my point about Josh Hype forever. Against good teams, particularly against athletic teams, but against good teams that make adjustments, etc., his teams do not match up well. And unfortunately, we play in the SEC, so that's a lot of times. And Alabama may go on to be, a very, very, very good team. Who knows? But what I do know is this. Tennessee had one of the most brain dead, inexcusable. I truly don't have where I was on the phone with one of my friends after this happened, and I just sat there silent. But the first thing I want to say before I even get to that is that Chris Brazzell once again had 3 catches for 40-something yards in the first quarter. And I was texting my friends, my dad, a lot of people about, just joking for the most part, but literally saying like they probably will go away from him now because we don't like to win, and that would be too easy, and this is just what they do. And I actually genuinely was not even trying to set up being right about that or whatever. I was joking. And they did not give him another touch until 11 minutes in the fourth quarter. 11 minutes in the fourth quarter. From the first quarter where he had 3 catches for over 40 yards. Didn't touch it again until the fourth quarter. That includes on that drive whenever they drove it down right before the halftime break and gave him absolutely no shots. For some reason, chose to run the hurry up and run the ball again unnecessarily towards the end of that drive. And then we do something that I cannot even fathom still as I think about it. And let me just break this down piece by piece. So Tennessee comes out in a heavy set, okay? And Alabama's not expecting that because it doesn't make any sense, really, because if you run the ball, the time runs out. And because of that, Alabama calls timeout. That's about as good of a win you're going to get there as possible. I don't even know what it does in that scenario to make them burn that timeout, but sure. You made them burn the timeout. Maybe you make them think about that heavy set, and then whenever they come out, it changes that would be the only point of doing that, right? It changes the defense's alignment because they have to consider that you may come out in that again. And so it may affect their play call or what he tells his defense, Caleb DeBoer tells his defense to do on that play. If Tennessee lines up like this, if they do this, do that, whatever. The whole point of going against Tennessee and lining up in a heavy set, especially in an unpredictable point like that, when it kind of makes no sense because there's no way you're going to run, the only advantage would be that team is surprised by that, and maybe you get the play off, but probably they're going to call timeout, and now it's something they have to think about. Well, that totally goes out the window in a million different ways whenever you come right back out of the timeout in the heavy set still, because keep in mind, again, we have no timeouts. If you run the ball, the half is over. So you cannot run the ball. I mean, you could, but it would be mind-blowing to run the ball there. So I think you're pretty safe to say. In fact, I don't think you could have telegraphed more that it's going to be a pass. Now, keep in mind, I just said we're in a heavy set formation. This is a team that lines up in the most creative formations, does all kind of motions, vertical passing game, all this creative stuff. And we come out in that situation in a heavy set before the timeout, come right back out in it. Obviously, you're going to pass. It's going to be a boot. That's the only thing you do there. It could be a naked boot or it could be a regular boot. But generally speaking, out of a heavy set, if you have to throw, which you do because you're in a heavy set and you have no timeouts, it's going to be a throw to the right, and oh my God, give me an aneurysm. So the point being is that if you're going to roll to the right, think about the formation, right? If he fakes the handoff and rolls to his right, he's going to have draggers and some out routes. And that's what that play call is going to be 99% of the time, which again, I just want to point out, even that is incredibly stupid. Because if you run an out route, you give the defender a chance to undercut it if it's a bad throw. Joey was hurt at that point. If you throw a fade up to Chris Brazzell, not only may he catch it for a touchdown because he's dominating every game that he's ever in. I wrote down in my notes that he makes a play, he changes the game, he impacts the game every single time he touches the ball. If you throw it up to him, he may score a touchdown. Very, very well may. Especially with that time, he could have done it a couple times, even increase your chance more. If it's batted down, that's not a pick. If it's picked off, because of the way that you go up and come back down with it, the chances of that guy, even if Joey dirts it and throws the worst fade ball you've ever seen, the chances of that guy returning it 99 yards for a touchdown are almost zero. The only thing you cannot do is that play. It is truly, absolutely unbelievable. I mean, and again, I go back to the point that I've made 1,000 times, and I tweeted this out right after it happened. If you don't see a pattern when it's right in front of your face, I don't know what to tell you. This man, Josh Heupel, say it for the 1,000th time, I love him to death, but this dude panics and vomits all over himself anytime that any kind of pressure comes up. I mean, we do this all the time. Why we get in that formation at that moment, not only because it's super telegraphing what we're doing, but also because it's a dumb play call, but also because it doesn't utilize your personnel at all, but also because it's terrible time management, but also because it's not the offense that we run. And again, we do that in the regular flow of the game. In almost every game, we come out super hot, and then out of nowhere, we fizzle out because we're not taking shots downfield and we're not executing. And it's like I just don't get it. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know how you explain that one. I don't know how you explain why we were in that formation. I don't know how you explain why you come back out in it. I don't know how you explain that you run that play call and run that route with a hurt quarterback and a receiver that cannot be stopped. I mean, seriously, I can't even put into it. I don't even know. I don't know how you explain that one. I don't know how you get over that one. I think this right here was probably the height of Josh Heupel's coaching tenure. And I do want to mention right here at the end about this point with the Tennessee thing. What happens after that is largely irrelevant. That pick six basically ended the game. You had a chance right there to make it a 3-point game or go up, and you end up down, 2 scores, and they get the ball, and it's just you're fighting an uphill battle at that point. And that's Josh Heupel. I'm sorry, but that's Josh Heupel. You throw that ball up 2 or 3 times to Chris Brazzell, I think that 99.9% of the time, it's a better outcome for you. Again, not one of those things that I'm trying to say I would be a better coach than Josh Heupel, but I know for goddamn sure I would not have done that. Seriously. Anybody that wants to try to explain that or explain that away or give me a reasonable explanation for that series of events, I would love to hear it. With that being said, the last thing that I wanted to mention when it comes to that is that Josh Heupel, there may be many more people on my side, and he may be gone already had he not beat Alabama a few years ago. And I really believe that. If you take that out of his resume, I think that he is looked at as exactly what I'm saying he is, which is a good coach who can't make it over the hump. Let's just listen to Nick here and see if we can't get a little bit of dopamine back in the system, because I don't really know where Tennessee goes from here, to be honest.
Our players used to always do this chant when we come out, like in the locker room, and we're getting ready to come out of Tennessee, and it's totally quiet. And I turn around and say, "What the hell's wrong with you guys?" And they were nervous. I can't even do it. I mean, it's a crazy chant, but it was like traditional for them to. This is what we do before we go out and play. Now all of a sudden we're not doing that because we're so worried about winning the game, and there's so much on the line, and there's so much anxiety, and then we just went out and played terrible.
So yeah, I think that was having Nick Saban's Alabama team scared to the point that they are, that Nick Saban notices that they're focused on the wrong things and not in the right headspace. I think that's probably going to be the peak of your Josh Heupel experience. I really do. Moving forward to this, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because this shit's ridiculous, but Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt beat LSU. They take their number 10 spot, highest ranking that they've ever had, since 1947, but might as well be as long as they've been around. And College Game Day is there. Pat McAfee show is actually right behind the camera, and they are in Nashville at the moment. 246 yards, 3 touchdowns. I don't care. I'm not impressed. I'm really not. And it honestly irritates the shit out of me that people are comparing him to Johnny Manziel. Like the number 2 thing, I guess because they're both white number 2 quarterbacks that are slightly athletic and making big plays and have a lot of personality, there's like that component to it. But what I definitely know for sure is that this motherfucker could not lace Johnny Manziel's fucking cleats. Let's see what we got here. And I also want to say, by the way, that we talked about LSU, did we not? Did we not talk about LSU? Did we not talk about them not being very good? We had 1 week where we thought that they were pretty good when they beat Clemson. Turns out Clemson's terrible. And I said in the last episode, I believe, that I was not impressed with LSU at all when they played tougher competition, that they would lose, and they had already lost before this, and then they lose to Vanderbilt, and it's not even close. Ruined a bet of mine, by the way. This right here has got to stop. This right here has got to stop. I mean, while we're here, let's just because I don't think, I really don't think that people put enough respect, and it must be starting to get to be a generational thing or something, because what the fuck are we talking about? Johnny Manziel, 2012, first year that Texas A&M was in the SEC as a freshman, okay? 68% completion percentage, 3,706 yards, 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, averaged 8.5 yards per catch, wins the Heisman Trophy. And what people never talk about with Johnny, the Heisman Trust does not like to give back-to-back winners. They haven't done it. They've done it once with Archie Griffin at Ohio State. But the next year, Johnny Manziel was better. 69.9% completion percentage, 4,114 yards, 37 touchdowns, 13 picks, 9.6 yards, average, 316 per game versus 285 in his Heisman year. He was better the next year after he won the Heisman. Don't ever compare Diego Pavia to Johnny Manziel. Just stop. The best player in college football. Yeah, no doubt, no, for sure. No, I agree. I mean, he's just clearly the best player in college football. I mean, he's better than Jeremiah Smith. He's better than Ryan Williams. He's better than Ty Simpson. Yeah, for sure the best player in college football. Listen, I don't care if he is. He can be the best player in college football, and he's still nowhere near as good as Johnny Manziel. I mean, this what we're watching right now. This is terrible defense. This is terrible defense. Because, like we talked about, Brian Kelly sucks too. Look up the story about the captain that was on his team that got handicapped, disabled, and he never even visited him in the hospital. We should do a story about that. Oh, come here. It's a nice move. For behind, 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage completion that the running back does all the work on, and also what is the defense even doing? I mean, I'm just, like I said before, man, that's about all I got for this, because I just want them to keep doing this. I want them to be as highly ranked and as hyped up as possible, because we are going to break that little kid in half. And I want to bring this up too. This is just being a hater. I don't care. He talked after the game about how he was saved by God and all this stuff, and how God humbled him and all this stuff. And listen, I'm not one to say you can't, enjoy yourself, but can we pick one? Is he Johnny Manziel because he was not available for media, because he just wasn't able to, and everybody thinks that's hilarious? The Cam Scatterbo quarterback's living his best life. Okay, so it's super cool and hilarious that he couldn't do his media obligations because he was drinking, which I guess leans towards Johnny's character. But then also we're going to post about how his quote about... Anyways, I don't know. I will be excited. This will be, I will give him credit, the most exciting Tennessee Vanderbilt game in a long time, even if they lost the rest of their games at this point. But I really hope they win the rest of them. I really genuinely do, because I cannot wait. So to finish up here, as we always do, we're going to cover a handful of stories a little bit quicker than we covered these stories that we started out with. I want to do this in a new way moving forward, but I haven't exactly figured out how I want to do it, and I want to make sure that I have graphics ready and that kind of thing. But my thought is that I call the segment Running the Route Tree, and basically run a different route with each story, quote unquote. So essentially fill out the route tree via each story, and sometimes the route actually corresponds in one way or another to the story. So anyways, we have been working on that a little bit. I think that's what I'm going to go with. I may also call it championship rounds whenever it comes to covering these last few stories. So let me know which one of those you guys like. The first one that I want to show you guys is this absolutely insane clip from UMass versus Buffalo. Record scratch. Couldn't have predicted I would be covering this, but yeah, let's watch this together. So Buddy intercepts the ball with a minute left, and UMass is up by 1. So up by 1, they get the interception. They're celebrating obviously because the game's over, and then UMass immediately went 3-and-out and gave him the ball back, and then Buffalo they still have a timeout left, which is insane. They scored a touchdown to win the game. Yeah, so that's even crazier looking at it right there. The Buffalo still had a timeout. You didn't even make them use all 3 of their timeouts. So you get the pick here with a minute left. They have 3 timeouts. Presumably you would run the ball 3 times, make them use all 3 at minimum, and then punt the ball way downfield. Well, you look up and there's 26 seconds left here in a second, and they've only had to use 2 of their timeouts, and they're in freaking scoring range. 26 seconds left with 1 time. I can't get over the 1 timeout thing. I mean, maybe they tried to throw it in the game to get a first down. Oh, that's rough. Moving on, next we have something that I really, really love to see. Another guy from, I guess, what would be my era of growing up with college football, which is crazy to say. But Cam Newton his number was retired at Auburn. over the weekend. Let's actually give this a look. I didn't know that was there. Let's see.
6 months ago, nobody would have, betted their last dollar to say that Auburn University is winning the national championship. But now, on January 10th, 2011, we smiling right now saying, we did it.
To Zachary. Touchdown, Auburn!
Yeah, and that's the guy that Tua wants beef with when it comes to not everybody can play quarterback. Yeah, that, by the way, was the greatest, one of the greatest college football seasons, him and Joe Burrow, that I've ever seen. He came from Belen Junior College and just absolutely dominated. Absolutely dominated. I mean, an absolute unicorn with what he was able to do. This got to be one of the coolest pictures. I thought it was a picture. That's a video, too. That is so dope. Yeah, look at that. Dude, look at that. That is incredible. So yeah, Cam Newton, glad to see him get his flowers. Oh man, let's go to another wholesome story real quick before we cover that. Deion Sanders won a game, a ranked upset actually, after he had surgery 4 days before. He's had a lot of blood clotting. He's had a lot of issues. He's missing 2 of his toes, but he's had a lot of blood clotting and was in a lot of pain recently, and said that he might have to have that looked at, and he ultimately did, and was having blood clots, had to have surgery, and his team goes out 4 days later and gets a win. I brought this up mostly just to say that I do love to see that. I think that Deion has some things that he can improve upon in some ways, but I think that overall he's a net positive both to any organization that he has been a part of, and for what people think for his kids too. I really do think that, and I think that his interesting thing, by the way, this son does media instead of play football. He used to play football, but he has a media company. He's the one that's always capturing all their stuff. I think maybe the vlog inside of the room that I saw was a little bit much, but good for Deion Sanders and Colorado for being able to do that. Because we were talking about that, I wanted to go ahead and talk about this as well. Deion held a scrimmage for bench players to get film for the portal. Let's hear what he has to say here.
All right, this is your chance, because I'm not crazy enough to think that all of you gonna be in this room next year. Some of you gonna jump in the portal. This is an opportunity for you to get some portal film. Okay? So I'm the kind of coach that's gonna make sure we cut it, hype it up, give it to you however you want it, and make sure you're looking good in your portal tape. So this is, some of you guys don't get to play, they're planning on jumping. You already made up your mind you're jumping, so I'm just trying to help you jump. Okay? The rest of you guys are planning on just staying here, rubbing it out, doing your doggone thing. I want you to get you some good tape, get you some good film so you can assess yourself. And you all should be watching yourself practice. You all should be watching yourself to see how you're going to see what improvement you need, what you got to work on. This is your day. I think we got cheerleaders for you today. I don't know if we got band members. I know they're trying, but I'm trying to get the whole shebang to make you have the feeling that it's game day for you. So when you come out there, it's game day. You're going to have your own stretch, right?
That's pretty dope. That's pretty awesome. In a world where, you'd be doing everything up to the point of probably corrupt shit to keep your guys, him giving them that opportunity, I think is amazing. I really do. I think that's an awesome thing from Deion. So moving on to this, I'm gonna let this play as far as the clip goes, and then I'm gonna let a little bit of what he says here play as well.
Coming out of the bizarro world alternate universe that is the Bill Belichick Jordan Hudson relationship, the two of them getting caught on a hot mic in some sort of production meeting.
No, this shit is absolutely wild. Keep in mind, I think this is before Pablo Torre's show on YouTube or on ESPN or something. They canceled a Hulu documentary that they had planned because they're so bad there. And if you don't remember, they also had a weird interview moment where the interviewer asked Belichick how they met, and she chimes in from the background, we're not going to talk about that. And the interviewer kind of turns and says, we're not. She says no. And I don't think they ever even continued that interview. So yeah, this is not the first time that she openly, in front of people with cameras on, embarrasses this man. Keep in mind, this is Bill Belichick. Sorry, here we go.
Meeting where the cringe levels are absolutely astronomical. Cringe off the charts.
Is it necessary to say keep them out of the end zone? Because I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory on defense. I don't know if there's like an additional point.
It's a 100%. 100%.
So that applies to all defenses.
Well, no, but we just said that the Cowboys offense is the best offense in the league. They have the most yards per game. Okay, so they're going to get the ball down there. Mm-hmm. We know they're going to get the ball down there. Preventing touchdowns and forcing the field goals is going to be a key to the game. I mean, we could say it differently.
Is that red zone specific, conceptually?
Is that red zone specific conceptually? I wish I had 1/1000th of the confidence that Jordan Hudson has. This girl is the most self-important, self-aggrandizing, thinks she's smarter than she is person on the planet Earth.
Oh my. Yeah, what in the fuck did we just watch? Keep in mind, this is Bill Belichick. That man has 8 Super Bowl rings, and he's having to, in case you don't, my wife, when I showed it to her, he was like, my wife, whenever I showed it to her, she wasn't totally understanding what her point even was. Like, she understood that it was stupid, but she didn't even understand what she was trying to say. And basically, she's trying to say, like, isn't it self-explanatory that you want to keep him out of the end zone? And what Bill Belichick is taking the time to explain to her is that when you have offenses that are going to move the ball, you want to stress to, take field goals instead of touchdowns, field position, these kind of things. You're going to get, yards put on you. You may even get scored on you, but you just want to prevent it from being a touchdown because overall, if they get 3 field goals and a touchdown and you get 2 touchdowns and a field goal, that's, you're going to win. 3 field goals and a touchdown, 2 touchdowns and a field goal. Yeah, that's right. You get the point. The point is that why does that have to be explained to anyone that's in a production meeting for a show that's about football? Much less, and yes, the confidence on this woman. I struggle to sit down and do these videos sometimes. This motherfucker is out here talking to Bill Belichick like he's an idiot. Somebody needs to ask about her real estate portfolio that she didn't have before she knew him and is now in the tens of millions of dollars. That's what she needs to be worried about, is somebody asking about that, because that's not self-explanatory. Next, we have Arch Manning. This guy, not even really worth an entire story, which is why we're putting him at the end, but 12 of 27, 132 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Like, not even bad enough to be talked about. And Texas barely beats unranked Kentucky at home. Ugh, yikes. Oh, wait, is that another one? Oh, no. Or is it the same? Yeah, same throw. Let's see what we got there. Not good. I think that in retrospect, it isn't a good look whenever you have a guy. I don't care about, right here they have, y'all apologize to Quinn right now. I don't care who you have in front of him. I don't even care if you have, like, legitimately great quarterback. If Arch Manning was what he was supposed to be, he would have played earlier. And I don't really know how you excuse the way that he's playing, considering that he sat for 2 years. So, nothing against him personally. But speaking of college football bust, we might have another one on our hands right here. To close us out here today, I will leave you with a message from Johnny Manziel himself, the man that we spoke about earlier. Johnny Manziel has had a up and down, let's say, roller coaster. Like I said, Diego Pavia is, like, I guess, being glorified for being like him in that way as well. They relate partying to Johnny. He was very famous for that and a bust in the NFL partly because of it. But my favorite player of all time, Johnny Manziel. Truly, and I thought that watching his story at the time was really, really heartbreaking, and there's literally been not many, if any, sports stories over the last few years that I've been more happy to see turn out well from a person standpoint. His NFL career didn't turn out well, but him doing this Glory Days podcast, I think, is brilliant. People that he's able to get on there, and the place he's able to speak from. So I'm going to leave that message with you here at the end. Otherwise, some housekeeping stuff, of course. Please subscribe, and please turn your post notifications on so that you see every video that's posted here. Posted our first movie review, instant reaction, right after seeing The Smashing Machine the other day, so go give that a look. First week back from vacation. A little bit of a crazy week, had some technical difficulties as well, so this may end up being the only video that we do this week, unfortunately, but we'll be back to it next week, and I appreciate you guys more than you know. Please like and share this video with somebody that would enjoy it. We'll see you next time.
When I see people that are like, yo, man, I'm really stuck, and I'm really struggling, and I'm really, don't know how to get out of this hole. And for people who have dealt with it, go disconnect from this world that we live in of social media, unrealistic bullshit. Because I've been at points in time where the world is ending and melting and I can't get out of it. Yeah. But I go to the things that mean the most to me, to my core, my family, my Aggies, my people. And you reach out and you be vulnerable and you let time pass and know that better days will prevail. Because it is something that will eat you alive and feel like you can never get out of. So that's something that I want to drop a message to all the people that look at this and see me as a guy who've gone from the point of putting a gun to his head and wanting to end his life, and sitting here today thanking the Lord for my people, my friends, my family, and the life that I have, because it is a beautiful thing and you only get one of them.
What's it like to play with Johnny? What's he like here and there? And I would always say, I think he's really misunderstood.
Lights will guide you home, and I will try.